Imagine a cage at the very end of a dark, cold corridor in an animal shelter. Inside that cage sits a shadow so large it seems to swallow the light. It is a 200-pound Cane Corso, a mountain of muscle and scars that most people refuse to even look at. The air around his kennel is heavy with a silence that feels like a warning. For 300 days, every person who walked past that cage saw a monster, a beast too big to love and too dangerous to trust. But then, a 1-year-old baby named Leo did something that made the entire staff freeze in terror. He did not see a monster. He did not see a threat. While his parents were busy talking to a volunteer, little Leo slipped through the unlocked gate and crawled directly into the darkness toward the 200-pound giant. What happened next is a moment that was captured on a grainy security camera, a moment that would eventually change the lives of everyone involved forever. The dog's name was Barnaby. He was a Cane Corso of massive proportions, weighing nearly 200 pounds of solid bone and obsidian fur. In the shelter system, Barnaby was known as a red zone case, meaning he was considered unadoptable due to his sheer size and the way he completely shut down from the world. He did not bark. He did not wag his tail. He simply stared at the concrete floor with eyes that seemed to have lost all hope. Most visitors took one look at his powerful jaws and his broad chest, and moved quickly toward the smaller, friendlier puppies. They saw his size as a weapon, assuming that a dog that large must be a liability. Barnaby was the definition of loneliness. The shelter workers cared for him with caution, never realizing that his silence was not aggression, but a profound, soul-crushing grief. Julian and Clara had come to the shelter looking for a small family dog, something manageable for their young son, Leo. As they stood near the front desk filling out paperwork, they failed to notice that Leo had spotted something at the end of the hallway. With the silent determination of a toddler, Leo crawled past the rows of yapping terriers and energetic retrievers. He reached Barnaby's cage. The latch had not been fully secured by a distracted volunteer. Leo pushed the heavy metal door open and sat down on the cold floor just inches away from the giant's paws. When Clara turned around and realized her son was gone, she let out a scream that echoed through the entire building. The shelter staff rushed toward the back, their hearts pounding with the fear of what a 200-pound dog could do to a small child. But when they reached the kennel, they stopped in their tracks. Barnaby had not lunged, he had not growled. Instead, the massive dog had lowered his enormous head to the floor, allowing Leo to reach out his tiny, soft hand and pat the dog's wet nose. For the first time in nearly a year, Barnaby's tail gave a single, hesitant thump against the concrete. For 7 years, Barnaby had been the constant companion of an elderly man named Silas, a retired carpenter who lived a quiet life in the woods. Silas had raised Barnaby from a tiny pup, teaching him to be a guardian but also a friend. They were inseparable until the day Silas suffered a sudden heart attack while they were out on a walk. Barnaby had stayed by his side for 2 full days in the cold, guarding the body of the only person he had ever loved until help finally arrived. When he was brought to the shelter, Barnaby did not understand that Silas was gone. He believed he was being punished or that he had failed his master. This was not a dog that was aggressive. This was a dog that was mourning a loss so deep he had simply stopped trying to live. He refused food because food did not come from Silas. He refused to play because the world felt empty without his partner. He was not a monster. He was a broken-hearted friend who was waiting for a sign that he was still needed by someone. Despite the warnings from the shelter directors, Julian and Clara could not forget the look in Barnaby's eyes when he touched Leo. They decided to take the risk and bring the 200-pound giant home. The first week was incredibly difficult. Barnaby was so large that he took up half the living room, and he remained a silent, unmoving statue. He would not eat unless Julian sat on the floor with him, and he jumped at every loud noise, his large body trembling with anxiety. However, Leo became his silent therapist. The toddler would bring his plastic building blocks and pile them up against Barnaby's side. He would share his crackers, placing them gently on the dog's massive paws. Barnaby began to realize that this small person was not afraid of him. Slowly, the healing began. It started with Barnaby lifting his head when he heard the front door open. Then, he began to follow Leo from room to room, acting like a giant, silent shadow. He learned the rhythm of the house, the sound of the refrigerator opening, and the specific tone of Clara's voice when she called for dinner. The family did not push him to be a perfect dog. They simply gave him the space to be himself. They practiced patience, understanding that a heart as large as Barnaby's took a long time to mend. The giant was no longer a shadow in a cage. He was becoming a member of a pack once again. The true turning point happened during a massive summer thunderstorm that shook the very foundations of their home. The power went out, and the house was plunged into total darkness. Leo, who was usually a brave child, woke up screaming in terror at a loud crack of thunder. Julian and Clara rushed toward his room, but they found that the door would not budge. Something heavy was blocking it from the other side. Panicked, Julian pushed with all his might until the door slowly slid open. There, in the middle of the room, was Barnaby. The dog was terrified of Thunder himself, his entire 200-pound frame shaking with fear. But he had positioned himself like a living shield in front of Leo's crib. He had forced himself into the room to be with the one person who was more scared than he was. As the lightning flashed, they saw Barnaby rest his huge head on the edge of the crib, and Leo had reached out to grab the dog's fur, instantly stopping his crying. The dog who had once given up on life was now standing guard over a new one. In that moment, Barnaby was no longer a rescue dog. He was a protector. He had conquered his own trauma to ensure that Leo felt safe. The image of the massive, trembling dog refused to leave the side of the tiny baby was something Julian and Clara would hold in their hearts forever. It was the ultimate proof that love is not about size or strength, but about the willingness to stay when things get dark. A year has passed since that stormy night, and Barnaby is unrecognizable from the dog that once sat in the dark corner of the shelter. He has regained his healthy weight, and his coat shines like polished stone. Every morning, he waits by the door for Leo to wake up, and every afternoon, they sit together in the backyard. The neighborhood children, who were once afraid of the giant, now come over to pet him, realizing that he is nothing more than a 200-pound teddy bear. Barnaby and Leo have a language of their own, a series of nudges and looks that speak louder than any words ever could. The dog who was considered unadoptable is now the heart of the home. He found a reason to live, and Leo found a friend who will guard him for the rest of his life. They saved each other in the simplest of ways, through the power of a quiet presence and a heart that refused to give up on a soul that everyone else had discarded.